Do y'all turn up to musicals? Because I feel like the intersection of people that like drag and people that like musicals don't intersect a lot. And I don't know why that is. There's a very specific form of artistry that goes into musicals, and there's a very specific form of artistry that goes into drag, and you'd think that those two bits of theatrics would overlap. I talk to a lot of people that love Dragula, Drag Race, at all, but they do not like a musical to save their life, and they hate the musical challenges. That is beyond the point. Hi, hello everyone, welcome in. My name is Jer, and this whole hallway smells like cum. I was trying to vamp as much as I can because after 30 seconds, you can say things like cum. Oop, I said cum again. I just can't get cum out of my mouth. I say I don't like musicals, and here I am referencing one. Today, we are going to be ranking the Boulet Brothers Horror Picture Show floor show looks. That was a lot of words. We are in top 6, which means that these rankings are tight. And I know a thing or two about tight. So if someone ends up in number 6, everybody is good at this point. There are only so many monsters that can be put in places. Someone's gotta be at the bottom. So let's shin this dig. So we're gonna start in the 6th place spot, which I'm going to put Sigourney Beaver here, sadly. There's only the reveal available for the photos on the wiki. I only ever react to whatever the photo is. I don't know if that's been clear considering that the visual of the photo is here and not any of the video from the actual floor show, and how it's a still picture that I'm talking about. But I do think maybe that is slightly unclear. Maybe I need to put arrows or something. The coat over the reveal I really like, but when we get to the corsetry and the fishnets and the bold makeup choice, which I think was brilliant, it's all just, why is there nothing here? At top 6, you cannot rest on your laurels at all. You cannot think that something is going to be enough to save you, or your personality, or what you bring to the show. It all matters about what you're doing in that moment, and I just don't think this pushed enough boundaries. I'm a sucker for the makeup. I love the mismatched colors of the gloves. The hair is interesting, if not maybe a little madame. And then just everything else is kind of giving me brothel, and I want to love it more than I do. But I will say it's a very lovely corset. In the number 5 spot is Abora. I said this yesterday, but Abora was oddly puss in this look, and I'm like, tiny unlocking fingers. I love this coat cape that has the cherry red lining in the middle. I look at this and I see those lips on the front of the movie poster. Not a huge fan of this magenta. It's a little more All Real Monsters to me, and I will be the first to admit I am not the biggest connoisseur of Rocky Horror Picture Show. I've seen snippets here and there, but I've never seen the movie from start to finish. And I cannot explain how that has happened, how I've seen so many different clips of it, but not the full thing. I can only blame the fact that I don't like musicals. But with my limited knowledge, I don't see this magenta motif represented much in the film. And maybe this is my no Rocky Horror Picture Show mouth talking. But I feel like this color choice is typically more emblematic of touring productions, which I think is a cool pull, but it doesn't quite gravitate me towards the musical very much. The plain corset is just a little too plain. The panties are interesting, but they're a little too plain. But I love that this is something different for Abora and something that we have not seen. Very here for that kind of wet look of hair. Everything is, yeah. What's hard is that it reminds me of Rocky Horror, like I'm getting it, but then I'm also not getting how that makes sense for Abora. Like I think of Abora and I think of really big, grand concept, and everything they've been doing this season has been the assignment filtered through Abora's weird, wacky, twisted mind, and this is oddly straightforward. It's not leaning into that crazy extremity that I always look for with their looks. And it's not really reaching and clawing at the floor to make a mark. That's why it's here. In the number 4 spot is Eva Destruction, and not to be a parrot, but I did not get Rocky Horror from this. I got more Killer Clowns from Outer Space. It was giving me the laugh track that put Eva on the map on Tumblr and on YouTube. If you haven't seen it, go look it up. It's fire. But it's giving me that. I love the mix of textiles. You know what? Looking at this though, maybe I'm really off topic, and maybe this magenta theme is all over Rocky Horror because Eva also is doing it, and maybe I just don't get the reference at all, and that's possible. I think the snot green, the magenta don't really remind me of that, but what I will say is, what I think a buzzword for Rocky Horror is camp with a capital C. Looking camp straight in the eyes. And I think this is that gauche camp that I love to see. There's something sickly about it. There's something excessive about it. There are bold architectural shapes that are happening here that don't make sense for a costume, but work because of all these sickly colors. The makeup is deadly. I love that headpiece a lot. And that boot is sick. Overall, it's a solidly strong look, and I think it nails the marker of camp, and I'm so glad that we got a strictly camp runway this season. I think it makes sense for Eva, which is why it's slightly higher than Abora, because while I couldn't really tell what Abora's line of thinking was with translating the prompt through her drag, I can see the brief perfectly embodied by Eva's drag. In the number 3 spot, and I don't give a crap if y'all don't agree with me, I put Cynthia Doll. I'm a sucker for big shapes. I'm a sucker for volume. And this is not afraid to be loud. It's not afraid to reference. It's not afraid to be Cynthia. I'm seeing a lot of strange shapes that don't make sense. I'm feeling from this look that a cube is a circle. I love the kind of body bag nature of this. Everything that was underneath was really cool. I'm also kind of obsessed with that upside down triangle. I don't know why, but I'm kind of obsessed with the like enlarged bubblegum testicle. If you have ever seen a drag queen's ball pop out of place, it looks like that. And again, it's kind of that gauche camp thing that I really enjoyed about Eva, but I feel like the color palette is definitely more refined and looks more tailored towards the brief. I'm enjoying the structure of all of this. There's so much scale to it. Sometimes that bigness is just more impressive to me, but I do love a clean, simple look. That's not what I expect from Cynthia. I expect boldness, and she gave that to me. And I think of the corsets that we've seen so far, this one is maybe the least simple. It doesn't quite cover the tummy. There's a part right in the center, almost in that rainbow shape, that is a cutout. It goes up into fetish straps. There's a lot of interesting shapes that are happening with that corsetry, and it's so custom and couture that I think is an interesting enough detail to put it higher. I enjoy those frilly kind of garters that are on the boots. It's impressively made, and that's why it's here. In the number 2 spot is Jaharia. I am so obsessed with this hyper glam, hyper femme fantasy version of Rocky Horror Picture Show via her incredible aesthetics. There's a designer that this looks like it was made by, and I'm struggling to pinpoint who it is, but this corset dress with the flared open mermaid skirt at the bottom, that reminds me of something so specific, and I wish I could put my finger on what it was. Before I started this video, I did a bunch of research and trying to figure out what it looked like, and I could not remember the designer at all, but I will remember eventually. I love the gloves and the way that this has all been kind of tailored to like a mid 1920s, 1930s kind of aesthetic. I love the sculpted hair. I love the pearl necklace. I love the accoutrements on the bra. The chains on this side is such a fun detail. I'm really loving all of these elements of gaudiness to enhance this look and crank up the volume to a max, and it is giving me Jaharia down. And I think at this stage of the game, it is not enough to just have a good look. It also has to be your brand image. Like, I could put this on Abora and I'd be like, that looks wrong. I could put this on Sigourney and I'd think that looks wrong. I put it on Eva and I'd think that looks wrong. But you put it on Jaharia and it looks like what her brand image is. And that's very important, to be able to take a garment and put it on someone else and think, this doesn't look like it's in line with your aesthetic. This is what Jaharia has been doing. It is somehow so classically and flawlessly her. Last thing to note, I'm obsessed with that red pop of tulle right at the bottom of all the black. So good. And in number 1, someone I've been eating up almost every single week is JK. Now maybe I'm just a slut, and that's possible. But when this came out, I was I very much feel like there's something that has dropped here. And I don't know where it's at, but I'm gonna find it. It is endlessly camp. There's something just silly about it. And drag doesn't need to be so serious all the time. When I think of a category that is like the definition of what camp is, I think about something like this. A big morph bodysuit with all the muscles painted gold with some red hot pants, gold makeup that has been impressively applied, and then those silver boots. It is all so... It's that. Camp is meant to kind of fly in the face of everything that we know to be decent and good, and these types of films like Rocky Horror are meant to also have this sense of immodesty, a sense of, oh, you're not supposed to do that, but you're doing it. And I really like this look. I thought the performance was great too. I really feel like Jay could and should have won this challenge. This definitely felt like his week, but I've also thought that a lot this season. And going into these last few episodes, I am so Team JK for one, his commitment to the aesthetic and to the brand, but also for stretching and showing us versatility, that JK doesn't just exist as this one type of monster, that Jay exists among lots of different kinds of monsters. And this one happens to be a super sexy one, kind of in the same way that I really enjoyed Pie's campy look from the last season where they were doing Franken. Can I say that? I'll bleep it. This is a strong look. It is one of my favorites of the night. And that has been my ranking of the looks from this episode. Let me know what some of your favorites were in the comments below. Sorry videos got a little delayed this week, but I will try to be more on top of them in the coming week. Thank y'all for watching, and I will see y'all on the flip.